An error occurred. Oh, let me try again. What's going on
There's your
here?
live.
It said error occurred. Let me try again.
Okay.
An error occurred on Kick. Okay, well, screw it. Apparently, we're live everywhere else, but not Kick. So that's fine. Whatever. Kick is not going to go live today, I guess. Sorry, guys.
That's it. That's all right.
Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. I am Colin, Project Constitution, and today we have guest hosting with me, Stephen Benoon from Israeli News Live. We have a good show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the big bombshell news that came out last night, obviously, which is that the fragment found in Charlie Kirk's neck does not match the gun found at the scene that they allege to be Tyler Robinson's. So we're going to dig into that. We're going to go through the article. We're going to go back and revisit our theory and why that still holds to this day. And then, so we'll go from there. How you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing awesome, Colin. And, you know, when people see those big arms of yours, they know never to arm wrestle you. So
that's right.
So anyway, listen, yeah, that was a shocker. I actually this morning when I was on with John Moore on his program there, we normally start off at 7 a.m. Central Time, and he brought that up that the fragment found in Charlie Kirk did not match the ballistics forensically, so it couldn't have been the gun. And yet they've made this poor young man. They've made him the lone shooter. He's the deadly guy. And and I sit there and I think to myself when I look at this information. One, we knew it was a patsy from the beginning. It's too obvious. But you know what really gets me though, and the first person, Colin, that come to my mind, the very guy that likes to trash us a lot. I don't know his name right offhand, but you do know his name. And,
our buddy Gary from Paramount Tactical.
Yes, Paramount Tactical, Gary. Yes, because Gary is like, it was a 30-06 right to the throat, front shot. These guys are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. Gary, look, just call us out by name. Listen, it's not going to offend us when you say Stephen and Colin and with Project Constitution or Israeli News Live, whatever you want to call it, please call us out. I challenge you to do that, right? Because now the forensic evidence just blew your whole theory right out of the water. And so, and I haven't really picked on you at all. Of course, I disagree with your analysis on it. I need to call my uncle as well. He worked for the FBI, and of course, he no longer does that. But he kind of liked Gary, and he really kind of thought Gary was right. And I was surprised because I'm thinking my uncle, as smart as this guy is, why would he think he was shot with a 30-06 to the throat? Just doesn't make sense. But with that being said, Colin, that brings us right back to our theory, our own hypothesis about this. And thanks to someone that was listening in today that we did the broadcast about the microphone and, of course, the transceiver, because we were looking for something, I'd shared with you. I know we talked about a lot just privately initially because, we'd come up with so many different theories. I was getting to the point where I'm like, well, before we ever go back with something again, let's just really share, knock some ideas off of each other, see what you thought on that. And I was just showing you where it looked like his back of his neck right here at the higher part of it pushed out just a small fraction there right at the time of impact, and his head hadn't gone down. So it wasn't because he moved his neck or anything. It's just something from inside. And I remember thinking what Candace said. Candace came out, maybe a month or so before we saw that. And she had said he really was shot from the front. And she'd gotten the information, but she said, you're right, it's not a 30-06. But that just really stumbled me. And I'm like, gosh, if that's the case, and I couldn't even back down. I was like Ty, when Ty, we were all on and we were looking at something from the side, what might have been a bullet hole to the neck or back behind the ear or anything, but nothing ever lined up. And then suddenly, we're doing the broadcast because you'd seen the evidence of, still looking at the patent possibility, and now you had that picture of the transceiver strapped to his waist. And the only thing that I still was having a little issue was even there was that, but I realized it could be, and that was trajectory, because when I took the back of his neck and I looked at where his neck had bulged out in that brief second, and when I saw that, and then I looked at where the hole was in the front of his neck, the one thing that came to my mind was then, okay, up here, right there. And then I did that arrow. I'll pull that up, Colin, real quick too. And let me see here. So many things here on my screen. Here we go, right there. Is that showing yet, Colin, or no?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. This is what, if you look at the arrow, don't worry about the downward button, but if you'll notice, so it comes right off the collar of his microphone is where I'm actually looking at right there. But right here on the back of his neck, that's what I saw bulge out. Besides the fact that we've got like a shock wave of energy, his shirt puffs out, both sides, his hair puffs out. Everything is coming from down below him. But the entrance wound to his neck and where that pushed out at put it to where it was coming up between his legs. And I remember, Colin, when I called you the first time about this, I said, remember that looked like a bullet or something between his legs that we saw that one time? So that was kind of my thought, but I don't think that was it. I think that was actually just a bug. But that itself is what I was looking at on a trajectory. And I had not, even when we were discussing it, I thought, well, maybe though, with that being on his waist, maybe still though, maybe that could have been what it was. And then you get this very interesting photo sent to you, which is this one right here. That, I guess it popped up automatically, correct, Colin? This picture here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. All right, this one here is what was sent to Colin. And if you'll notice, it looks like somebody laid a cell phone over the picture and then took a picture of the picture. But I thought that was interesting in itself because why? It blocks part of the microphone where you can't see that part of the microphone. So you don't know what may be coming out, but you can clearly see that his hands are cut up in this imagery here, right? I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see that a little bit better. Right there at the bottom, there around his thumb, another place there on his hand. And when we looked in the casket, we could also see this bruising that they could not cover up with the makeup on his hand. But somebody used something to cover up that microphone so that you could not see if there really was damage from the microphone, which my suspicion is that was the answer would have been yes. That's probably what it was. Something blasted out of that microphone and came up. So anyway, I yield back there, Colin, because this has just really blown me away.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely wild. And like I said, I believe that we were right on the money with the mic pack explosion. I mean, because there's clearly, I don't have the video queued up, but remember the one video that I showed where you could actually see the puff of air coming from under his, through his sleeve or whatever.
Yes.
So you got that. You got you got the receiver underneath of his shirt, right on his belt line, lined up directly with the, pretty much lined up directly with the wound. And honestly, that's lined up to where you said you see the thing bulge out in the neck there. So, I mean, I think that is a pretty solid theory, especially considering the black fragments that were found all over the scene there on the table. on the ground, in the SUV that was found at the hospital. The little black shards found in there. I think we have a pretty solid theory on what happened. I think I'll put it this way: it's 100% more plausible what we're saying than in 30-06. That's for sure. I mean, that there's pretty much no chance in hell that a 30-06 killed Charlie.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I was looking to see real quick if I may have something like that. By the way, I'll have this up here in a minute just to share something in a second, though. But the thing is that, well, I was hoping I could do that, but I guess it isn't going to let me do it. Here we go.
I think X is down or something. I just tried to pull up a post that I wanted to share for us here, and it's not, for some reason, it's not working.
Exactly. So let's see this one here. Now this doesn't show the puff of air okay, this does though. This is a good one here too, Colin. Can we pull this one up on the screen, or do I need to click on something, or are we still to where we can see it?
You're still up. You're good.
Okay, it's like a blue circle. Ignore the blue circle as somebody else had put that there. Again, this was the very first time I was looking at trajectory. As you can see, the back of his shirt is all puffed out. I'm going to zoom in on that. We see the back of the shirt puffed out. We see his hair pushed out as well. But right there, this is where, if you're looking at the red line, this is where I could see in the video frame of where his neck had pressed out just slightly, almost like something on the inside had hit him and pressed that out. And then I basically was trying to figure out, I couldn't see the front very well, but I figured roughly right around there is where that entry wound was. And so I was looking at, all I did is I just did an arrow there to connect the dots there. And again, as you can see, it's going down towards where his knees would be at in this case. Now later, as I did a little bit more examination, I was able to pull the bulging in the neck a little bit higher from that case there. So I think Colin, especially because you did a lot of coverage on the microphone, what could possibly be there. I know Phil Turney, for his part as well, Phil had also had shared that with us that, that he believed from the very beginning it was the microphone. Now, he didn't specify handheld or wireless mic. He just simply talked to me on the phone one day, and he said, Steve, he said, that Israel you know what they did to Hezbollah? He said, just think about it. He said, who's got a reason to want to shut Charlie up would be Israel, because he's affecting what they're doing. They've got the capabilities. They took out Hezbollah using Petin inside these pagers of theirs. And he said, I 100% believe that's who's behind the attack on Charlie Kirk. And, and I'm sure there's been a lot of other things that have been done since then, though, that have just really have proven that without a doubt. But, it's crazy. I mean, Israel does all kinds of crazy things to begin with. I mean,
they're actually now calling for using the pager style attacks on Americans.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's something I saw on Alex Jones today.
Oh my gosh. The thing is it's like they're going after anyone that dares dissent or even questions their motives, what they do and why they do it. And even this war right now with Iran, they're not telling the world what's really happening, what's going on. I get it minute by minute. I just got another updated message here a moment ago from the Iranian side and what they're doing. I get it from both the Israeli and Iranian side, and the casualties and what's going on is really Israel's taken a severe beating. We just saw where they had one of their people in their parliament said, we're raising 10 red flags. Our soldiers aren't holding up. They're going to collapse. They won't send anybody into Iran on ground troops. And right now, the Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon ambushed a whole group of them and destroyed 20 tanks, 2 bulldozers, and a number of fatalities of soldiers as well. They're just not a good fighting group. And when they're faced with any force that can possibly put a resistance up against them, their fighters don't do well at all on the battlefield. And then I also heard, and I haven't been able to pull this one off to prove it as of yet, but I know that the Iranians have been using one of their missiles that is not very much known about, and allegedly they hit last night Israeli base inside of Israel where the F-35s were, and destroyed.
You talking about the cluster munitions?
Not the cluster munition. They actually, it's let me see if he actually told me what it's actually called there in one of these posts that he sent me. But this missile here is one that few people know about, but when they used it on the base in Israel, allegedly it destroyed every F-35 that was on the ground. The Iranians are using Russian-made shoulder-mounted rockets, and the planes can't detect them coming. They've shot down more than 100 drones. They've shot down a total of, they've actually shot down 16, whether it be Israeli or U.S. aircraft over Iran, and 2 of them were severely damaged, but they were able to fly back. But the thing is this is a new technology that Russia had, and Russia gave it to the Iranians to try out on American and Israeli-made planes to see, well, only American, it's not, Israel doesn't make their own planes, but to see if it would actually work. And the thing that it does is when it locks on its target, the target typically, like an F-35, F-16, F-18, whatever the case may be, it'll shoot out all of its little burners there to be decoys for the missile coming in. And if that doesn't work, it then alerts the pilot to immediately eject because the plane is about to be hit. Well, the thing is, it's not detecting the missile coming in. And so therefore, they're having a very high success rate in shooting aircraft down. Plus, Iran is hitting all of our bases throughout the Middle East there. They've done so many attacks now. And they even hit last night, they hit a hotel that we had a lot of colonels, high-ranking officers, colonels, even some generals that were staying at the hotel in the Middle East there because the bases had been so heavily damaged they couldn't stay there any longer. And they used a very high-powered explosive drone on the hotel and caused a lot of fatalities there as well. It's just not being reported in mainstream media here. I know that the Houthis have also joined into the fight as well, Colin. They targeted the Abraham Lincoln. They claim that they've hit it. Iran has claimed they've hit it, but they haven't.
And of course, Trump lied about that, obviously.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, it was just a laundry room fire or whatever he said, you know?
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, exactly, right. Now, that was on the USS Gerald Ford, and it did come back to port, and that was kind of an interesting thing. But, you know, they did sink, though, 6 of our amphibious ships. Now, they were at a port. They weren't actually, you know, making any landings as of yet, but Iran saw them docked, I think it was in Qatar, and they sunk all 6 of them. And they've also disabled a Corvette-class destroyer of Israel. Didn't sink it, but disabled it in the Mediterranean. Imagine that, all the way to the Mediterranean. From what I understood, there was a couple of ships that were hit that were badly damaged that had to go back to port, whatever port might be left, because as we already know, they've targeted Israel's ports both in Haifa and Ashkelon. They've also targeted the Dimona nuclear power plant, and actually the Dimona, I shouldn't say nuclear power plant, but the Dimona research facility. They did target, though, the electrical plant that Israel has on the coastline there just north of Netanya, which is just outside of Tel Aviv. And they just recently also hit a refinery in Haifa as well. So Iran they're having, I think, 70% success of all their missiles hitting their targets now, including, as you mentioned, the cluster munitions.
What are you talking about, Steve? Trump says they're destroyed, man. You know, they're kaput. You know, their missiles are taken out. They're done. The war's over. What are you talking about?
All right.
You
Yeah. Fake news, right? That's what Trump always likes to say, fake news, fake news. Well, the truth of the matter is Trump is getting his can handed to him. And I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but we're starting to see a lot of Epstein file photos and videos popping up now. And that's kind of something.
Yes. Iran has somehow, I think they've hacked that or whatever, because they've been releasing, from what I hear, I haven't seen too many of them myself. I haven't really dug into it, but from what I hear, they are releasing bits and pieces of the Epstein files that they've gotten, just like they released Kash Patel's personal email and stuff, which, by the way, he has an X videos account. So he's a porn addict. I guess his honeypot girlfriend isn't putting out for him.
Let me, this is something that, and I don't know who did this one here. Have you seen the one where this poor little girl is tied up in the most horrible, horrendous way and being tortured? Looks like maybe a 12-year-old girl.
No, I haven't.
I still have got more to look into. I don't want to go into too many as of yet because I want to see what this evidence really is. But this just seems to be the type of evil that they did there. And, you know, when they say that they're going to release the files on Trump, I can believe it, Colin, 100%. And I'll tell you one reason why. The guy that does the equipment sales for my dad for all the years that I've known him many, many years, two girls that he went to school with, because he lives on the opposite, they call it the opposite side of the tracks of Mar-a-Lago. And two of those girls were taken to Epstein Island and raped. And allegedly, one of them claims that Trump was her perpetrator. But she actually hated Ghislaine Maxwell more because she said that's the one that lured them into doing this. And when I'm seeing, and she was at 14 years old at the time when that happened, by the way. And just today, I started seeing a lot of footage coming out. And, you know, this was clearly a Mossad operation. The Mossad was using this to lure politicians and famous people out there so they could control them. To be able to work the narrative in this country, you know,
100%. Yeah, it's been proven that Epstein was a Mossad operative. So was Ghislaine Maxwell.
Exactly. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send this one though to you. This one here that I just come across today. This one is so disturbing, but I'm going to send it to you on X real quick in the chat just so you can see that. I don't want to just.
Send it to me. I'll post it on my. I don't want to show it on the stream, but I'll post it on my X for anybody that wants to see it.
Yeah, that's very sad to see, especially a child in this type of you know, torture. This is definitely a torturous position, and you know, and to think of the evils that are coming out right now, you know, it really needs to be exposed. You know, because the bad things that are happening in this world right now, Colin, are just, it's unfathomable to think that the human mind could be so evil and wicked. And even as they have said in Iran, they said this is the reason why they went to war, was to cover, you know, to cover up what his crimes are, cover up what Trump has been doing. And yet the sad thing is so many people are, you know, they're just like, everything's cool, you know. Oh no, Trump's a great guy. He would never do something like that, you know. And I'm like,
yeah,
you never really know a person until you find out the hard way.
Trump is such a disappointment, man. I am so disgusted that I voted for him 3 times. You know, I am just so disgusted by that. He's done a complete 180, complete polar opposite of everything he said he was running for. I honestly don't think that he was. I don't think he was like this the whole time. I think honestly, what I think happened is Butler was like a wake up call for him. I think that they staged Butler. No, I don't mean Trump staged it. I mean, you know, our favorite ally staged Butler, and they intentionally did that as a warning shot to him. Hey, do you need to fall in line and do what we tell you to do, or else we're going to take you out.
Something that I'll tell you that I think is interesting in Butler.
And one more thing, I also don't think he was meant to get hit in the ear. I think that was meant to just be a warning shot and like go past him. And I think they just got lucky that it grazed his ear.
Yeah. Here's something though that I have wondered about. And this is just a theory. Was he actually hit? All right. True, he comes up, he has blood on his ear, but it's almost like they're holding him down and he's squirming down there. The reason I say that is you have to understand the mindset of Israel and their ideology behind their own warped way of Talmudic prophecy. There is a biblical mandate that if a person that is a Gentile that wants to serve the Jewish people and he doesn't want to go free, he wants them to be his master, they're to take an awl, basically like some kind of little thing to pierce the ear, and they're to pierce that person's ear to show that they're a slave master for the rest of their life. Now, as crazy as that may sound, and he may have been hit, he may have been shot, and he just happened to hit his ear and not his head. That is very real possibility, but I've also wondered if they didn't do it intentionally. So just a conjecture, but crazy one, no doubt, because you do hear the gun going off. So it sounds realistic. And wasn't there a guy also killed on the platform?
Yeah, they killed somebody up on the roof that they say was Thomas Crooks, but then again, it's real funny that they did the same thing with destroying evidence. They washed off within like 48 hours. They completely washed off the crime scene, got rid of all the blood, sprayed it all off with a hose, and then within like a couple days they cremated the body against the medical examiner's wishes. Like they didn't even tell the medical, they didn't get his approval. The FBI just went in there and did it by themselves without even the medical examiner knowing. They cremated the body.
Jeez. Can
that way there was no DNA.
Yeah, that just shows you just the insanity to everything that goes on. I mean, it's crazy. And, but I'll tell you something.
This comment here is a good point where it says ear injuries leave scars. That's actually a good point. And, now that Trump is walking around, obviously without a Band-Aid and stuff now, because it's been a while, I would be curious to look at some up close shots of him and see whether there's actually a scar there from where he was hit or not.
Exactly. These are the type things that I'm talking about. There is, there's more to it than what people realize. And by the way, there are more and more things that are coming out, and they're not good at all. Geez, they're not good.
Yeah.
But, it is, like you said, there should be a scar there. One thing I did do today, Colin, it's on my Patreon channel. And I finally decided to release it there, but I'm trying to keep it as quiet as always. I'll say this here. I always wanted to blow the whistle on what our government really does. And because of the time that I worked with the CIA for a number of years there, and I've spoken about it in public events where it was just behind closed doors, but I never would actually put that information out publicly. And today I took one of the ones that I spoke at in Oregon. It's been a number of years ago now, probably about 8-9 years ago. And I did put that on my Patreon channel to where, at least for a short period of time, I want to have more people to be able to see the different people that were murdered in this nation, all to cover up politicians, money laundering, drug money, and everything else. And this is just a good example, which I'll send it to you privately, but this is a good example of people like Charlie Kirk, why they lose their lives. You know, people that get in the way, people that is a risk to the political agenda or exposing the evils that they're doing. These are the people that end up dying. They end up not making it. And
That's
very sad.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. You know, they kill freely. They think they're above the law. They will kill anybody that gets in their way of them making money or their business deals or political aspirations. Or, I mean, this has been going on as long as time. You know, like Candace Owens said, I think was it yesterday on her podcast. I think she said, you know, that they are actually the number one murderer of anybody. Like as old as time. Like they're the ones that do the most killings.
Jeez. It's sad. It's very sad. So
Definitely.
But you know, it just goes to show just how wicked the elite, the rich people are, what they're willing to do, and you know, and just it's a very sinister program that's going on, and I'm glad to see finally that there are voices like Candace Owens, you know, and Tucker, and you know yourself, and people even with you know, because like even with yourself, Colin, you've got a large podcast. You're willing to expose things that are happening, and more people are starting to expose these crimes that are taking place in the world, and it needs to be exposed because you know, it's gotten completely out of control. And,
Yeah.
you know, they think because they have money, they're elite or whatever, they can just do whatever the heck they want to do. And, you know, and the abuse to women and the children. And even like in this war, you know, Gaza was horrendous enough. And then right at the very first day of the war, practically, you know, we drop a bomb on a little girls' school. And there's no way they could have just done that, you know, randomly. When they hit that little girl's school and killed that, I think it was 175 people died, 160 girls and 15 others that were killed in that strike as well. They knew what they were doing. And I think Israel's the one that gave the U.S. the intel that was a RIGC building, which Israel knew that it was the daughters of those commanders that were going to that RIGC post where they were at there, just right around the corner. And
I believe that too.
They wanted us to have blood on our hands, just like they have blood on their hands. And because Americans normally would not do that, you know. But one thing
and of course Trump lied about that too, tried to say that Iran did that, it wasn't us, but you know, Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles, sorry.
Nope. And I'm glad that Iran pulled out that information, was able to show what type of missile came down on that school. You know, Iran, I don't see doing the low life things that Israel would do. And Americans would not normally do it either, other than we're getting drug into this. I think it was Chuck Baldwin said the other day, we had him on, and he said, you know, all these Zionist ministers that have written all their books about you know, Israel and what God is going to do and how he's going to bless them and all this. He said they may have to rewrite their books. He said, because right now, from what it looks like, Iran is stomping Israel pretty hard, even though Israel is stomping Iran pretty hard as well. But at the same time, Russia's not entered into this war the way they said that they were going to do. All the Gog of Magog war pundits. And it's just Iran by themselves fighting against the United States and against Israel. And we are being hit extremely hard. But you know, the odd thing is all these things that we're looking at right now, Colin, this is what you can go back to, I think 2022, 2021, right in that area there. I did multiple videos saying that when we go to war with Iran, we're going to suffer a lot of hits on our base. They're going to demand us that we have to leave the Middle East. That would be one of the things. And it's all there. What do you got up here for us, Colin? You're on mute.
All right, so I got loaded up here. This is Charlie Kirk's show today. Uh, they decided that they were going to come out and gaslight the public and respond to the breaking news that came out last night. Obviously, that the bullet or the fragment did not match the gun. So they're they're going to parrot the same garbage responses that the rest of these Zionist shills online are doing, trying to say that, oh, that's a lie, the Daily Mail's lying, that's not true, it's the defense that's saying that, it's not the ATF. Well, they're wrong for one, but let's just go ahead and watch this.
Okay.
This is going to piss you guys off.
We had quite an evening. When we got home, there was a breaking news story about.
Let me guys know if you got sound too. You should.
Trial, which
several breaking news stories.
It wasn't actually breaking.
That's really what we actually want to emphasize, because there's several pieces of it, and what people decided to run with online was pretty different from what you and I actually think is the biggest reveal of it.
There was actually a lot of reveals, but people should know this. So essentially, the Daily Mail comes out with an article that says the bullet does not match the gun.
This is the literal headline that the Daily Mail.
And Blake is so condescending, man. I can't stand him. His attitude, like he's so condescending. He thinks he's like so much smarter than everybody, and he's really not.
Used, and which got millions of views on
millions.
X. The headline was, "Bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not, all caps, match rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. New court filing claims." Now, we're going to have to unpack that.
We're going to unpack a lot of that. But here to help us do it is somebody that I've been watching online for a while now. I've been really impressed with his takes. I've never met him in person before, but he agreed to come on because he was instantly on top of this story. His name is Justin Nazaroff. He's the CEO of Phoenix Ammunition. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen you, Justin. So it's great to see you.
They got a new Gary, everybody. They got a new Gary. Gary, like I said, Gary has been secretly working for us, our side, the entire time. He has thwarted them every which way possible. I highly encourage you guys to all go watch Baron Coleman's podcast from 2 nights ago, where he goes over all of Gary's wonderful journalism. But Gary screwed up when it came to proving that Mitch Snow was at Fort Huachuca. That's something that was an open question at the time. But Gary brought the son on, brought Mitch's son onto the show to try to disprove our story and disprove that Mitch Snow was not at Fort Huachuca and didn't wander into a secure building. But the son actually proved on his show that did happen, because he said, "Oh, they called me." He was his emergency contact. So when he got stopped by the police, who did they call? They called Mitch Snow's son. So they disproved that. So he screwed up there. And then the other time he screwed up, I mean, he screwed up a bunch of times, but I'm just talking about the big ones. And then the other time he screwed up was when they were trying to prove Erica Kirk's alibi. And Andrew Colbert behind the scenes was, obviously, we know that there's a coordinated effort, and these people are all talking to each other, and they're all coordinating their messaging to try to attack us, and Candace Owens, myself, everybody else. But Gary actually exposed that fact, and he exposed that Andrew Colbert was the one that was actually coordinating all the attacks against us. Because what he did is in his attempt to prove Erica Kirk's alibi for the day before Charlie was shot. I believe the 8th or the 9th. It was either 8th or 9th. I forget what day that the purported text message that Andrew Colvett sent Gary, supposedly of Erica Kirk holding her finger over the picture of 2 kids that she claims are her kids, which, by the way, they are not her kids. That will be proven very shortly. But underneath that text message, it said, "Do not share." He was not supposed to share that picture, and he shared it anyway. So he threw Andrew Colvett under the bus for that as well. So Gary has just screwed them multiple times. I mean, a lot of people think he's just, dumb, retarded, or whatever. But I actually think he's working for us. I think he's secretly like a double agent. That's what I really think's going on. But anyway, so my point is, Turning Point has caught on to that, and they realize that Gary, whether it be because he's just retarded or whether it's because he's a double agent, but they have now replaced him with this guy. So this is new Gary, everybody.
So let's just take apart this headline from the Daily Mail.
And spoiler alert, new Gary is going to put his foot in his mouth too and aggravate them as well by bringing up Candace Owens here just in a little bit and proving her right.
I saw you criticizing it as sort of an egregious misrepresentation of the facts. They're saying the bullet does not match the rifle, court filing claims, right? What's your read of what actually it says?
Well, I mean, it's one of those headlines where they can say something that's true, but because they leave out the context, as soon as you read the article, you can see why it's false. And so what they did was they analyzed a bullet jacket fragment and were unable to determine that it came from the shooter's rifle. So
exactly. That's what we just said. So how is that fake? How is that a misleading headline? That's exactly what it said. That's exactly what the Daily Mail said. The bullet fragment does not match the gun or whatever. Am I wrong on that? What do you think, Steve?
No, because even a fragment, Colin, when a bullet goes down through a barrel, the barrel has rifling inside that barrel of a gun, especially a 30-06. It's got a cut, rib going down inside that barrel, and every one of those cuts are unique to that particular weapon. It's not like they do it intentionally. It's just the way it's manufactured. And so when a bullet is traveling at a high velocity through there, the metal inside that barrel is cutting the softer tip of that bullet, being a fragment or whatever. So when you go to examine that through forensic examination, and they're trying to look to see if that fragment, which would be maybe the outer casing that was around the bullet or whatever that's coming out the end of the barrel there, does it have the same scarring? They would know, because when you pull out fragments out of a person's body, generally it is fragmented out, especially if it's got let's say it's got some type of a metal type of casing around the copper itself. And so that once it enters into the person's body, it begins to peel back, but it still though leaves those marks on that bullet once it goes in. I've collected bullets from people that that been shot before after the surgeon takes it out, and so we're able to always go back and ballistically have that examined by those that do those types of examinations, and they would know. And it doesn't matter what side it's on there. There's going to be a cut in that casing there, even though it is a fragment. There should be a cut in there that either is going to match the weapon that they have from where they've shot. They've done dummy rounds into a sand pit, and they pull those out, and then they compare those markings to the markings on the one that came out of the person that was actually allegedly shot by that weapon.
Exactly. Yeah, so obviously these guys are lying right off the bat here, but we'll continue. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to play up to the part where they talk about Candace Owens, and then I'll stop and I'll read you the actual truth, the post I made.
So,
Okay.
unfortunately, ballistic science is, in a lot of cases, a best guess, and in many other cases, pseudoscience. But what we know is it doesn't work like CSI.
Oh, it's a pseudoscience, huh? Really? Interesting. That's why it's been almost perfected and used in, you know, probably millions of court cases around the world to convict people and put them in jail for the rest of their lives, or even possibly execute them. But it's a pseudoscience, right?
Las Vegas. When a bullet hits something and deforms, which is what we've been talking about the whole time, we're assuming that the shooter probably used a hollow point or some other bullet that is functionally intended to deform when it hits something.
Or it wasn't a bullet at all. It was a fragment from the microphone housing.
And so when it does that, it doesn't come out in a nice, perfect form where you can see all the lands and grooves from the barrel and make a positive match. So in this case, they can't determine whether the bullet was fired from the rifle, but they also can't determine that it wasn't fired from the rifle. That's
Right.
effectively all they're saying. They're saying that there's some reasonable doubt that it could theoretically have been something else. Now, and I'm not making it.
It didn't match, and it could theoretically be something else, as in remote. I mean, not remote, as in the microphone receiver.
An affirmative declaration one way or another. I want people to understand that this has nothing to do with what I think happened or what anybody else thinks happened. All I'm doing is looking at the facts, and as somebody who's been doing this for a very long time, knowing that most people just really don't understand much about firearms generally, and even people in the firearms community who do understand firearms generally don't really know a lot about ammunition.
Yeah, and so you're saying basically because the fragmentation of the bullet was so severe, I don't mean to sort of infer by your tone here, but you're saying, of course, this would be one of the options that, of course, you wouldn't be able to necessarily identify it via forensic evidence with the gun. There's other ways you could. Now, the caliber matches, all of these kinds of things. But, you know, I think what people expect is sort of this.
He's lying there. He said the caliber matches. It doesn't say anywhere in the report that the caliber matches. That's a complete lie. It specifically says that it cannot determine. It's just a fragment. They cannot link it to anything, so it's not the correct caliber.
CSI version of reality.
A lot of people think, and I think this is a graphic you can see in TV shows or movies, where they'll take like a bunch of little pieces of metal out of like, you know,
thin air,
and then they'll like put them all onto like a little, you know, machine, and then like the computer will assemble all the bits, and they'll just see it. Oh, they'll like bend the bits and reassemble the bullet, and then like green text will pop up that says confirmed
ding,
match.
ding, ding. Yeah.
And
so yeah, I'm just gonna read one of your tweets. I'm not gonna put it up on screen because you use some colorful language here, Justin. But you say completely and utterly misleading garbage about this Daily Mail headline. You say the bullet is unable to be identified because it's you use more colorful language here. It's fragmented into a bunch of pieces. And when that happens, they don't do some magic CSI Las Vegas animation where they manage to reassemble the bullet and perfectly align the lands and grooves to match a barrel. None of that is real. That is not how science works. And then, you know, it was interesting to watch the internet last night. This story hits, all the usual suspects take it and run it. And then a bunch of saner voices come in and say, this is not something new. We've known that the bullet fragmented. We knew that, like,
Colin,
a bunch of saner voices, really.
Let me clarify something. All right. I've sat in operation rooms, literally. One guy back in the 80s, I think it was around 1985, he was shot by a deputy sheriff 5 times. He had one bullet went into his palm of his hand here, came out at his elbow. Another one went into his thigh. It had lodged on the opposite side of the leg after crushing through the bones and everything. .357 Magnum using silver tip bullets is what they were called at the time, hollow point. And let's see, he had one to the knee. I forget all the different places where he was hit, right? My job was there to recover the evidence. Every single bullet, the lead casing, the main component of that bullet, would still be intact to some degree. What fragments is the casing from around a silver tip. That's on the very tip of the head of the bullet that gives it a little bit more penetrating power, that literally has cuts in it to where it could fragment off. Those pieces would fragment off, but you can reconstruct it. Yes, you can. And you can definitely get the ability to know what kind of weapon it came from. The mere fact that they're saying that they can't really, it's inconclusive because it's just a fragment. And, I haven't technically sat and read the article. I was hearing about it this morning when I was on with John Moore, right? But the whole point is that in that case there, that tells me this most likely was not a bullet in the first place.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it shouldn't, the bullet is, even a 30-06 bullet is not going to totally disintegrate on impact. The mere fact that Charlie had such a huge gaping hole in the front of his neck, which looks like an exit wound and not an entrance wound, is because of a fragmentation going towards his throat to start with. And I think it was multiple shards, just like what we see.
I actually have that picture. Let me pull that up real quick. Yeah, I have this picture here, which you can see. If you look at this picture, you have the wound, which is already there. There is no blood coming out of it yet. So this just happened, but yet you have another piece of shard or projectile going towards this wound. And so that tells you that there were multiple pieces flying towards him. It's not just one bullet, it's multiple.
And as I mentioned to you on that there, Colin, when you showed it to me, the first thing that come to my mind was the microphone, the housing of the microphone, the projectile that was meant to cause the damage that was deadly. That was large enough to knock a hole in his neck, go through his neck, go to the back of his neck, and cause his spine to press outward there. Whatever they pulled out was intact. These little fragments, like what you see here in this picture, these are the lighter weight fragments. If there's plastic, for example, in the outer casing of the microphone, or it's made out of aluminum or something like that, when the blast initiates, those
black ABS plastic, yep.
Right. They would be flying at a slower rate of speed than the actual projectile itself that was embedded inside of that microphone. So therefore, you would expect to see that a hole already, but a lighter weight fragment caught in a frame like that. That seems to make more sense. 30-06, no, it's not going to do like that at all. So that clearly tells us again that it's something completely different.
Absolutely. And this comment is right as well. The injury, the hole is actually square, not round.
Exactly.
It's another good point.
Very, very noticeable.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's crazy what they're trying to pull off.
It really is. It's disgusting.
Lining it perfectly
in the first days afterwards.
Yeah, lining it perfectly up to the rifle was going to be a challenge. But there's other ways that you could match in theory, right? And again, I respect that you're not trying to say this happened or that happened. You're just giving us the details. You're giving us the facts. There's other ways you could match a gun to a bullet, correct?
Yeah,
like
well,
if
as
the
an
casings
example,
match,
they could test the metal and show this is the same metal as the rounds that were recovered with the rifle. Sure. Which, remember, we have a rifle with rounds that have political messages engraved on them.
And the casing that they have from this also has a message engraved on it, apparently, that matches.
Sure.
Yeah,
it doesn't match.
I'll even walk that back a bit further. It's actually very difficult to match a bullet to a rifle. So, for example, 30-06 as a cartridge uses the same bullet that's used in .308 Winchester. So even if you recovered a .308 diameter bullet that was perfectly intact, if you didn't have the rifle that it was fired from to match the lands and grooves, there would be no way for you to determine that it was fired from a rifle chambered in .308 Winchester or 30-06. And so then when you start mangling up bullets that are roughly about the same size, a lot of medium to large caliber rifles use projectiles that are roughly the same length, roughly the same weight, roughly the same diameter. So if you smash those up into pieces, you may not even, if they didn't have a rifle to compare it to, there's no guarantee that they would even be able.
But they do. They do have a rifle to compare it to, and it doesn't match. That's the whole point. This guy is completely trying to conflate the argument.
That's absurd for him to make that statement, because that's one of the ways to know what kind of weapon for detectives to look for is when a person has been murdered and they have the bullet fragment that has come out of the person. They can pretty close with certainty know what type of weapon fired it, as far as caliber wise. Again, because why? The core part of that bullet is still intact. You still, like I said, the only thing that's really going to fragment is not going to be so much the lead. It'll mushroom a little bit. You would really have to have it going through some very bone dense, dense areas that would cause more fragmentation. But Charlie's neck, no. What's it going to hit? Nothing. Everything is soft tissue. There's no cause for that bullet to fragment unless it hits something on its way to Charlie. If it hits something on its way, i.e. a microphone casing having to blow out in order to be able for the projectile to get there, where it disfigures it to some degree. Otherwise, that casing is still there. I mean, I challenge anybody to go look at bullets that have been shot, especially those where they're shooting them in these test jails. Yes, they'll fragment a little bit, but the main core part of the bullet will stay intact regardless. So I totally disagree with that theory.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, the FBI, I'm pretty sure, also has a database now where they can, make it easier to even be able to tell what bullet it is. I think they have it, like any ones that they produced. I'm pretty sure the FBI already has all the what am I looking for, the lanes and grooves or whatever, the parts of it on file, so they can immediately tell, maybe not the exact rifle, but they can tell, hey, it's this kind of a rifle, or it's this kind of a caliber, or what, So they do know this stuff, and this guy's just completely full of crap.
Exactly. So, all you have to do, like I said, if you want to see whether or not that is what they're trying to say is true, do some research on it. There's enough research out there, to be able to still tell the diameter of the bullet. Even if that bullet did break in half, you're still going to know the diameter, because the other half would still be there. It is theoretically possible for, a bullet to break up in small tissue, but as a general rule, it's not. It's only going to mushroom out is what it's going to do. And
especially not with just hitting, a tiny little neck bone.
Exactly. So in most cases, that's always the case. I know that when I collected, even on that one particular incident there, I got all the main core pieces, or bullets themselves. The only thing that I remember the surgeon having an issue with, he asked me, what kind of bullet is this? He said, I've never seen so much damage to human flesh before. And I told him it was this 357 silver tip that the victim was shot with. And that was because that outer casing peeling off, and it would just like shred on the inside of the human flesh there, and really does a lot of damage. But the core part, every single bit of it, was still there. So we never had any issues with that whatsoever.
Absolutely.
To know what the caliber of the cartridge was beyond reasonable doubt. So it's a very inexact science. And in this case, Candace Owens, I hate to bring her up, but she mentioned on her podcast on September 25th that the bullet was fragmented into pieces. So this is something.
Oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Oh, what's that? Candace Owens, she was right. What? What? Oh, they've got they're coping and seething right now behind the scenes there. They're this guy's, New Gary is already fired. He mentioned Candace Owens on the show. He's already fired, guys. They got to get a third Gary now.
Can't mention Candace on the program. That's what it is. They don't want her to have any coverage there.
No, can't mention her, and God forbid she's right about something. Oh, he just completely screwed up his chance of ever going back on this show ever again.
The people on that side of the fence have known for a long time, and they're just basically milking more views and more audience out of the same information we already had. It's basically like Schrodinger's bullet, right? If they had managed to recover a fully intact bullet where the lands and grooves matched perfectly, people on the other side would say, well, it's obvious that the bullet was planted because you're telling me that a bullet was fired through a human being and it was in perfect condition.
So they have to go to hypothetical situations to try to prove their argument because they have nothing in reality that actually backs up their claim. Exactly,
Colin. That's the whole problem that they have. They look. These guys do not know what they're talking about. Period. They should have left this to somebody that knows what they're talking about. But when you're going to gaslight the public, they already knew that it was a bombshell story, and it really created a lot of problems for them. So that's what they're facing. They're dealing with something that they can't handle, and they don't know what to say about it.
Oh, I agree. There's one more part I want you to see where Blake Neff is trying to gaslight everybody about Tyler Robinson, his parents turning him in or whatever. I want to show you guys that part real quick, and then that's basically it. So let me see if I can find this guy real quick, and then we'll move on from this. Let's see. Where is it? I should have time-stamped it, but I didn't. Okay, I think this is it right here.
Apparently, it's very common. Almost half of the cases you can't match it because the bullet is so badly damaged.
Which I want to really dive into that because, okay, we're still able to, make conclusions in cases where they can't make that match, and that's what we really should emphasize. The real news of the past few days from these filings from the defense is they're reacting to evidence that the prosecution is planning to present, including at the preliminary hearing that they want pushed back by 6 months because they're trying to drag this case out as long as possible. At the preliminary hearing, it is reported that the prosecution plans to call Tyler Robinson's parents and Tyler Robinson's furry boyfriend to the stand. So we've seen over and over, it just gets wildly alleged on social media that actually his parents didn't turn him in. Actually, his parents they're not cooperating with police. They've just lied about these things when in reality, we know from endless documentation, they were involved in turning him in. And now it appears that they're ready to testify in the case.
Right.
All right. So first off, he's completely lying. Tyler Robinson did not, well, I'll put it this way. He did not confess to anything. So their whole claim that he confessed is a complete lie. Nobody said that his parents weren't involved with turning him in. Obviously, they were involved with turning him in, but they did not turn him in. They did not. The whole story about how they saw the gun, the dad saw the gun on the TV and immediately knew, oh, I think that's the rifle Tyler has. And then he called Tyler and was like, where's that gun at? And then the family friend came over and said, hey, I think that's Tyler. And then they turned him. That's a complete lie because I'll tell you how we know it, because as you guys know, the image of the gun that they showed, and this is on the thumbnail, the actual image, you can look at it. But the image on the thumbnail is the gun that they originally showed during the manhunt. Now, that gun is not the actual gun that was found at the scene. And that's not Tyler. It's not even the same gun as Tyler Robinson, the gun that Tyler Robinson supposedly had, that World War I Mauser, or World War II Mauser, or whatever it is. That is not the same gun. That's actually a stock photo. And the news outlet that put that out originally even confessed to that fact, that it was a stock photo they used, because the FBI never actually released a photo of the gun at the time. So if they're trying to say that this guy, that the father saw a picture of the gun and immediately knew that that was the gun Tyler had, that is a complete lie, because that was not even the same gun. It's not the same gun Tyler had, and it's not the same gun that was at the scene. So, complete lie. And also, when it comes to Tyler turning himself in, what happened for real is the only reason that he agreed to self-surrender peacefully like that is so that he was afraid that the police are going to come in and bust the door down and tear up the house and potentially get shot, shoot him and his family in the process. That's why he agreed to voluntarily go in with them. But he never confessed to anything. And he was not, another thing is, he was not suicidal, according to the family. Candace Owens' source on that says that his family said he was not suicidal. And it's also real convenient that the footage, allegedly, of him going in the police station to turn himself in, that's all gone. That's all disappeared. Apparently they deleted it, according to, because a couple news outlets tried to FOIA request that video footage, and they've come back saying nothing exists, that that we've deleted it, we don't have it anymore. So they've intentionally deleted that evidence to hide that fact, and they're out here repeating this big lie that Tyler's guilty. He knows he's guilty. He confessed. He turned himself in. The parents turned him in. They think he's guilty. It's complete nonsense, complete lie. Even if you go watch the podcast Brandy and Billy on YouTube, they got a good podcast. Great people. I love them. They got a good show. But they actually went to Tyler Robinson's court hearing, and they sat behind Tyler Robinson's family, and they actually got a chance to talk to them. And they said that they do not believe Tyler Robinson did this. They do not believe he could have done it. And they also said that only 2% of what you are hearing in the media that they're telling you is true. It's not true. And another thing is the grandmother. I believe it was, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Sam Parker was the one that actually went and talked to Tyler Robinson's grandmother in person. But Tyler Robinson's grandmother also said that she does not believe Tyler Robinson did it. And she also went as far as to say Tyler Robinson is not a gun guy. He doesn't know anything about guns. He doesn't shoot guns regularly. He doesn't own a gun. So everything they're saying is absolute lie. Absolute lie. And the fact that they're out here gaslighting everybody is just atrocious to me. What they're doing is they're trying to contaminate the jury. But they're blaming us for doing that, but they're the ones actually out here doing that, contaminating the jury. And it really pisses me off. And these guys supposedly call themselves Charlie's friends. We were Charlie's friends. Well, if you were really Charlie's friends, you would not be adverse to them extending, trying to get a, reschedule the preliminary hearing so they can go through all the evidence and do a proper investigation to make sure that they are actually charging the correct person with the crime. If they were actually Charlie's friends, they would want to make sure that the correct person that did this is held accountable. Not trying to, if they're trying to rush this court hearing along and railroad this poor guy, Tyler Robinson. And it's absolutely despicable what they're doing, and it really pisses me off.
It is very despicable what they're doing. And to think that they're actually getting away with it is even worse, But I think that the nice thing about today, is the fact that there is so much video footage. There's so much going on in this world that, I think the people are going to be able to bring this to a close and be able to stop, put a stop to this evil that's going on. I mean, there is so much horrendous things that have happened besides the death of Charlie Kirk and them trying to silence him and shut him up. But even, it seems like too that, we start finding out all the evidence about Charlie's wife and behind the scenes as well, what she was really doing. And even how that even comes back and connects with Epstein Island. I mean, the evil that is happening in the political arena, and not just the political arena, but it seems that it was definitely targeted towards a lot of politicians so they could control them and how things were voted on in the future and stuff. It's interesting how all this kind of couples back together, Colin, every bit of it. It's all designed to have control so that certain people can have other people do their bidding for them and get away with it. And I'm deeply troubled at this. And then to see this young man Tyler to be have all this pinned on him that he murdered someone, and if it wasn't for the fact that the public is really pressing hard and doing things like yourself and so many others are doing, Colin, to try to get evidence out there to prove that this young man is actually innocent, when we know he is innocent, they would end up either putting this boy to death, putting him on, or putting him in prison for the rest of his life, and then eventually no one would ever hear the light. He'd never see the light of day, nor would anybody ever hear about it again. So it's really taken an army of independent journalists out there to try to bring this evidence forward that would make a difference.
I agree. And that, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I'm going to the mat for this. I'm not, I'm going max. I'm not stopping. I'm relentlessly going up against this. I don't care. We will get to the truth. I will not stop until we get to the truth. They could send me, for some of you guys that may not know or do know, but Turning Point has already sent me 2 cease and desist letters threatening to sue me already. Over my reporting, and I don't care. I refuse to stop. What I am doing is my journalistic right. I'm using my First Amendment right, and if the truth hurts them, then that's their problem, not mine. And that's all I got to say about that. But they will not stop me. This is very important. And the people like us that are speaking out, we need more. We need more people speaking out. Because Charlie's death was the catalyst. It really was the turning point, actually, of something much bigger. We are revealing. We're peeling back the layers of the onion of the deep state and all these Freemason fractions that are warring. Warring each other. We are uncovering that and exposing that and pretty much just taking a wrecking ball to it. And it takes more people like us to do that, to speak out. It takes more people to wake up and start to realize what's going on for us to make a difference and to stop this. And it's working because, they're terrified. Trump is terrified. He's on his toes now because everybody is going against him. He's about to lose in the midterms over this crap with the Iran. Turning Point, they're terrified. They're on their toes because they're about to be found out, for their role in this. It's, it's honestly, things are happening. We're getting close. Things are moving in the right direction. It's been frustrating, but we're getting breakthroughs. That the tarmac hug, being able to prove that actually happened in Arizona and not Provo. That is like fundamental to the case. The bullet the fragment not matching the gun, that's paramount to the case. Everything is coming together and their narrative is falling apart, And that's the thing. Like, the main thing is we have to get this guy, Tyler Robinson. We have to make sure we clear his name. And then once that happens, then we can point the finger at the people that really did it and pressure the government to actually do something about it.
Absolutely. And that's becoming harder and harder because, it seems like everybody that's in the government is so caught up in all this garbage to begin with, one way or the other, and it's amazing to me just what lengths they'll go to protect whoever's in office. And even to this day, I'm still seeing people having a very difficult time accepting, Donald Trump could actually be a part of these things, or even when Tulsi Gabbard tries to bring out that foreign influences, they wanted to investigate foreign influence in Charlie Kirk's death, and everybody puts a stop to it. It's nearly impossible because the most evil and wickedest people are in control of all these different branches of government.
Absolutely. Anyway, Candace Owens about to come on in a few minutes, guys, so I don't want to hold everybody up. You got anything else you wanna say, Steve?
I think we've covered it for the most part there, and anybody that wants to see what I was mentioning to you earlier about where I've exposed some things that this government has done over on our Patreon channel, it's just Israeli News Live. You can check that out. I'm still debating on how long I'm going to leave that up because that's an explosive thing. It's an old issue, but it just goes to show you just how evil and corrupt the system is and what they're willing to do. So,
yeah, everybody definitely go check out Steve's Patreon. Also go check him out on X. You can follow his YouTube channel. I'll let you say your YouTube channel because I usually get it wrong.
Well, I hate
Israeli.
It's Israeli News Live, but I am totally against everything that Israel does, the genocide of children. I'm against the fact that they went to war with Iran and blow the place up before they even finished negotiations. They're fighting Lebanon, killing civilians. I mean, they've just become the most evilest state on the planet, and it's very sad to even associate that name. But it is what it is, and because we were Zionists a long time ago, but for 8 years we've been trying to expose all the evils that really do go on there. So,
and like I told you, honestly, I think that's a good thing, having that name, because it attracts people that are still Zionist and still Jewish, and it attracts them to your channel, and maybe you can wake them up. Even if you just wake up one person. If one of those people that comes to your channel and ends up seeing the truth and waking up, it's a net positive. So, like I said, I think it's a good thing. I would keep it. I think I told you that privately, but I think you should keep it for sure. And yeah, so go check out.
We had a good interview too with Samara Munshi recently as well. You might want to, those of you that watch, you might want to go check that out. Very interesting. She came out in protest for what they had done to Carrie Prejean Bowler when she made her stance saying that, that she didn't believe that Israel had a right biblically for an existence, and she's right. And so we interviewed Samara recently, and I think that people might find that interview very interesting as well.
Absolutely. You can go check that out on Steve's YouTube channel. I stand with Carrie too. I'm behind her 100% on that. That's completely wrong what they did to her, and I'm glad that more people are starting to speak out about it now. So I mean, it's a good thing.
Yes.
You can also follow Steve on X. He goes by Stephen Benoon, INL. That's his handle. I mean, that's his name, but his handle, his is at Stephen Denoon, DENOON. Stephen DENOON. Stephen Denoon. So check him out. He posts a lot of good stuff. He has a lot of good interviews, and good friend of mine. So go show him some love. Go show him some support. And I think we had a great show. We covered what we wanted to cover. We returned to our theory, and like I said, our theory still holds to this day. I think we have one of the best theories out there. And So
I think it is as well. I think it is as well. And those of you that are listening on our program here, Colin with Project Constitution, definitely subscribe. Be a part of the work that he does here. You can see also all the information you got here. So we certainly appreciate you all and thank you for listening.
Yep. One more correction real quick before I forget is I said that the person that interviewed the grandmother I thought it was Sam Parker, but it turns out it was Diligent Denizen on X. So Diligent Denizen is the one that actually talked to the grandmother. He's another good guy, friend of mine, great account, posts good stuff, another truth teller. So follow him if you're not following him as well. Sam Parker, good guy too. You can follow him. He's a good guy also. Anyway, that's our show for today. Thank you for joining me, Steve. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to hit the like button on your way out. Helps the channel, helps us get pushed out to the algorithm so more people see it. And that's all we got for you today. So I will see you on the next one, guys.
Have a good one, Colin.